You ever been on a flight, staring out that little window and had that thought pop into your head? You know the one. If something goes wrong up here, why isn't there a parachute under my seat? It seems like such a no-brainer, right? Well, the real answer is way more interesting than you'd think.
So picture it. You're cruising along at 10,000 meters. Everything's smooth. And then, suddenly, an alarm goes off. The captain comes on the speaker. Prepare for an emergency landing. What's your first instinct? Mine would be, okay, where's the parachute?
And the answer is, there isn't one. Not in the seat, not in the overhead, nowhere. And it's not some cost-cutting measure. It's because giving you a parachute would, believe it or not, be one of the worst things an airline could possibly do. So let's break down exactly why.
Right, let's get into it. This is what I'm calling the 10,000-meter question. Why is this one piece of gear that seems so essential, totally, completely missing from every commercial flight?
Okay, for the sake of argument, let's pretend you have a parachute. You've somehow managed to strap it on. You're feeling ready to go. But your first problem has nothing to do with the fall itself. It's just dealing with the world waiting for you on the other side of that door.
What you're imagining as a simple leap of faith is actually, well, it's pretty much an impossible jump, full of challenges that are each more dangerous than the last.
The instant you're outside, you get hit by a wall of cold. We're talking minus 50 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's colder than the South Pole on a really bad day. Any exposed skin would freeze almost immediately. It's brutal.
And the air? What air? There's basically none up there. You'd have about 15 seconds, maybe, of useful consciousness before you just pass out from lack of oxygen. So you're frozen solid and unconscious. Not exactly a heroic start.
And this is where the physics get really, really grim. That insane drop in air pressure does terrible things to the human body. If you panic and hold your breath, the air already inside your lungs would expand so fast it could cause catastrophic internal injuries. It's just not a survivable situation.
But honestly, all of that is a moot point. Why? Because you can't even get the door open in the first place. See, the cabin is pressurized so you can breathe, but the outside is practically a vacuum. That difference in pressure creates a seal on the doors with thousands and thousands of kilos of force. You, me, and 10 of our strongest friends couldn't budge that thing an inch.
But let's say a miracle happens and that door blows open. Well, that's called explosive decompression. And everything in the cabin that isn't bolted down, including you, would be violently sucked out into the sky like a rag doll. It would be chaos.
All right, let's keep this crazy hypothetical going. You survive the cold, the lack of oxygen, the pressure, and you've somehow been ejected from the plane with your parachute. What's next? Well, the journey down is its own special kind of impossible.
A commercial airplane is screaming through the sky at close to 1,000 kilometers an hour. Jumping out isn't some graceful dive. It's like being shot out of a cannon. The wind force alone is unimaginable. It would send you tumbling uncontrollably.
So, funnily enough, the parachute, the thing that's supposed to save you, is now your biggest liability. First, you've got to survive that insane ejection speed. Then, you'd need to magically slow down to a safe speed of around 200 kilometers an hour to even pull the cord. And even if you do all that, you've got the biggest question of all. Where on earth are you going to land?
From 10,000 meters up, you have zero control. Absolutely none. You could be coming down on top of a skyscraper, right into rush hour traffic on a highway, or, much more likely, into the middle of a massive ocean or a remote freezing forest. The odds of a safe landing are basically zero.
Okay, so we've established that jumping is a truly awful idea. So what's the alternative? This is where we get to the really surprising and frankly reassuring truth about modern air travel. It's all in the data.
Let's just look at the numbers. Your odds of being in a commercial plane accident are something like 1 in 11 million. It's incredibly rare. Meanwhile, the failure rate for a parachute, even with a trained expert in perfect conditions, is about 1 in 1,000. Statistically, parachuting is thousands of times more dangerous than just staying on the plane.
But this next number, this is the one that really changes everything. Just take a look at it for a second. Over 95%.
What is that? That is the survival rate for people who are actually in commercial airline accidents. The media loves to focus on the tragedies, but the reality is the vast majority of people in a plane crash survive. These planes are absolute marvels of engineering, designed to protect you.
So when you put all of that together, the impossible jump versus the incredible safety record, the wiser choice becomes crystal clear.
Without a doubt, the safest possible place for you to be during an emergency is right there, in your seat, with your seatbelt on tight, listening to the cabin crew.
These are trained professionals. Their entire job is to get you back on the ground in one piece. Trust them.
And look, if you need one more fact to put your mind at ease, here it is. Statistically, you have a better chance of dying from food poisoning on a flight than you do from the plane actually crashing. So next time you fly, maybe just be a little suspicious of the chicken salad and you'll be fine.
Which brings us to one last, slightly ridiculous question to chew on. If you're absolutely forced to jump out of a plane, what would be the single worst, most useless, most unhelpful item you could possibly bring with you? Think about it and let us know your best answers.